Hey, welcome to Film Fanatics, three film geeks discussing movies both new and old. My name is Dan.
My name is Justin.
And I'm Joe.
This week we review the record-shattering American Sniper, up for Best Picture this year at the Academy Awards, and also talk about some of the controversy surrounding the film. So Justin's going to tell us about American Sniper.
Navy SEAL Chris Kyle, played by Bradley Cooper, has a gift for pinpoint accuracy on the battlefield. So much so that he has been credited with 160 kills and has become a legend amongst his peers.
A legend.
As you will hear many times throughout the movie. However, each tour takes a heavier toll on Kyle at home, with his wife Taya, played by Sienna Miller, and their son, as he struggles in transitioning into a normal life. From fake babies to comparisons to fake propaganda films, which aren't entirely unfounded, but we'll come back to that, American Sniper's not without its fair share of controversy. The question is it a good movie? Yes, but Oscar-worthy, I'm not so sure.
Ooh.
Now, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a good story here, and Cooper is definitely getting into character, but I think the big issue I have with director Clint Eastwood is the fact that he definitely has some talent behind the camera, but as we saw with Jersey Boys, there is some really, really messy sound editing in this. There's some moments where his accent is so thick, I'm not entirely sure what he's saying. And I feel like the biggest issue with this movie isn't necessarily whether or not they're playing up his legendary status, but more or less of the repetitive nature of how they're telling the story. Kyle goes to war. Bad things happen. Kyle goes home. Bad things happen. Repeat 4 times until the movie's over. It's a good movie, and it's never really dragging. It's just really repetitive and has a couple problems that keep it from being something much, much better, and I give it a B.
For me, I thought this was a highly intense drama. I like the way that it added the family dynamic to the typical war picture. It definitely makes the story more relatable and enjoyable for casual war movie fans like myself, but there are more than enough action and battle scenes to satisfy people who love war films. My only real problems with the film are with Eastwood's directing. Justin, I had a couple actually other problems with it than that. I didn't notice the sound issues so much, but I thought the choppy montages towards the beginning, like some of those scenes were like 10, 12 seconds, and then it was on to the next thing. And I thought that was a little bit much. Also, and we'll get into this a little bit more in a bit when we talk about the controversy, there is a little bit too much of the Go America rhetoric here, but I didn't find it especially overwhelming. They did include the post-traumatic stress plot line, which I thought was good. Either way, though, the movie grabbed me. I came out crying. I don't think it will honestly win anything at the Oscars, but I give it an A. Joe?
Personally, I thought it was well-directed and shot specifically. I thought that the action scenes on the battlefield, I thought they were the best part of the movie. I thought they seemed very authentic, very disturbing, very intense. Definitely the best aspects of drama were there. In addition, though, I thought that Bradley Cooper's acting was very good. Actually, I thought he really got into the role. He definitely physically got into it. I thought he was trying to really channel this character best he could. I thought he did a very good job. I think the biggest problem for me, though, was I felt like in the script there was something missing from his character development. Like, I felt like, despite everything that I saw in the movie, they really did establish that he was a great sniper. But that's the only thing I was 100% sure about him. Mm-hmm. Like, I came away from the movie feeling like, okay, this is basically a biopic about this guy, and I still feel like I didn't quite know him. I'm not entirely sure what the messages we're supposed to think regarding him as a family man or even as a man. I think that basic aspect was a little too simplified, but that's really the only major issue I had with the movie. I'm actually going to leave it a little lower than you. I'm going to give it an A-. Okay. So your prediction was right, Dan. I'm a little in between you guys.
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah, it's funny. I thought the direction on the war side of things was great.
Definitely.
You know, it was all of the other stuff that I thought is where Eastwood kind of lost focus.
And you guys are right. I mean, at the beginning, okay, we get a little bit about a child, like literally a scene.
Yeah,
so we know a little bit about him, and then there's his training, and then there's the stuff as a cowboy, but it's all literally like within a few minutes. I'm like, by the time I learn one thing about him, I'm already learning something else.
Yeah.
And then you're right. It goes back, and nothing really happens. Okay, he's sad. Obviously, it's affecting him, but that's more the performance than anything else. Mm-hmm. You know, there's really not much there, honestly.
Well, it's like take everything that we knew about the guy from Unbroken, which was already, I thought, very minimal.
Yeah.
And cut that, maybe even less. Mm-hmm. You know,
it's a similar.
Yeah, we don't know a lot about this guy other than he was a rodeo guy.
Yeah.
and then decided to join the
That
Navy.
was it.
That's
he has a brother.
And we're like, yeah, I want to do it. Like you just, and he literally says, I just felt like I want to do it because I want to
Right.
do something with my life. Like, what really caused that change? You know, like you didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm gonna be a freaking Navy SEAL. Like that's a pretty big decision.
Well, I think that is a problem lately with Eastwood's storytelling, because Justin mentioned Jersey Boys, and really, I mean, this is by far the best Eastwood movie for me in close to a decade. I mean, I did not like Invictus. I didn't like the Tsunami one with Matt Damon. Hereafter.
What about Torino?
Torino's his last really good
and
movie.
that was probably about 8 years ago by now, maybe.
06,
I
07?
think it's 09.
All right, well, maybe not quite a decade then. Maybe 5 or 6 years, let's say. But, yeah, I thought Bradley Cooper did a great job here. Justin, I know last week when we did our top 5 Oscar snubs, he was the one you had kicked off of your Best Actor docket. Joe and I couldn't really have a say in that because you were the only one at the time who had seen the movie.
Yeah.
I still would say I would kick Steve Carell off before Bradley Cooper. I thought he did a really good job here.
I thought he did well too, honestly. I was okay with that nomination.
I mean, I see where you guys are coming from, but for me it was great performance, great performance, great performance, good performance.
Okay.
Like, Cooper does a good job. It's not that he's underwhelming or anything. It's just, I feel like sometimes he gets a little too thick into his character because the storyline, his overall motives get kind of confusing at times. And I feel like sometimes when he has to make his actions do more of the talking than the dialogue itself, it does kind of suffer a little bit.
Yeah, I guess some people could argue that's just him really trying to get into the character, so...
Yeah, I'm not sure you can fault him specifically for his character's motives. That's probably more of a script issue, maybe.
But it's a matter of him getting into character, which I think he is partially responsible for.
And directing.
Yeah, and directing, though, as well. I don't know. I thought it was a good performance. But let's get to the controversy here. There's a few different things sort of swirling around. To me, I think the big throwaway is the fake baby. But Justin really wants to talk about it, so let's talk about the fake baby.
It was a pretty bad fake baby. Let's put that on the floor then.
Listen, I gotta be honest.
Oh, no.
I really didn't notice the fake baby. Apparently, it's a big thing, and everyone is up in arms about it. I didn't even know. I was so into the story and into the poke my head in sometime this week and try to catch a fake baby scene, and maybe I'll be like, wow, what was I smoking when I watched it?
It was pretty bad fake baby.
But is it the scene where he comes to the hospital and the baby's crying?
No.
I think it's just every scene involving the baby
Any
in general.
scene with the baby is fake. Okay.
The way they explained it was, I believe a production assistant or someone along the lines went to Twitter and basically said, the first baby showed up with a fever, the second baby was a no-show. Eventually, Clint Eastwood just basically looked over and said, give me the doll.
Well, again, I feel like Eastwood maybe in these last few years has maybe gone a little downhill with the directing.
Maybe he scares all the babies that come on the set or something?
It's possible.
To be fair, yes, Joe, the fake baby is terrible. I'll give you that one.
It's pretty bad.
I think the sort of but not really controversy with it's kind of blowing out of proportion.
Well, a lot of movies use fake babies.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue with that, too.
It's nothing new.
And it's not like it's a baby-centric movie.
No.
Personally, I think it's more funny than anything else at this point.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the fact is it's such a well-shot movie, and Clint Eastwood's got all this experience. The fact that he wasn't able to hide the obviously fake baby, it's kind of a big slip-up in a big movie like this.
But I think it speaks to me and Justin's point that the directing maybe is one of the weaker elements of the film.
Well, no offense to the guy, but he's pretty up there. Maybe he gets tired and misses some things.
It's possible.
It's a lot of work for a big project,
Well, maybe that's why you don't do it then. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, there's a reason I think he's not up for Best Director. But to me, the real controversy is surrounding the politics of the film.
Definitely.
And this kind of thing. A couple main issues. One is the...
Baby.
Okay.
No.
Was one of the big ones, right?
The big one I would say is possibly the propagandic nature of the film. And then the other one I would say is sort of the...
glorification or...
Yeah, the glorification, I guess, of Kyle's character and, statements made in the negative by people like Michael Moore and Bill Maher and that kind of a thing. So I'll let you tackle whichever you feel like talking about.
The big thing that they focused on with this was the glorification of Chris Kyle's quote-unquote legend, which is thrown in throughout the entire movie of his credited kills, taking the angle that it was this glorious murdering spree, which I feel wouldn't be so much of an issue if Eastwood hadn't taken such a black and white. It feels like, oh, the Go USA thing is we're the great heroic guys and the enemy is all terrorists. They're all evil. I was talking to Joe earlier this week, and he's like, and you were telling me, well, I mean, clearly he's not okay about some of the kills, particularly one fairly early on in the movie, but I just kept thinking at the exact same time, that's only because of one minor factor that's kind of spoilery, so I won't get into it. And the rest, he's pretty much
Okay with it?
Okay to dead cold about.
But see, I did not get that impression of this character. And here's why. I feel like, like take the car mechanic scene where he's dropping his car off and the guy recognizes him. Oh, you saved my life, this and that. He really is not... I don't know. He doesn't quite fully know how to handle that.
It's almost like when he comes back, you're like, you know what? I don't want to think about
right,
the war.
Like, I don't want to think about what happened out there. I don't think he is wearing this like a badge as much as everyone else is wearing it for him.
No, it's...
You know what I mean?
I'm not saying the character himself is...
Oh, but you're saying the movie on the whole.
Yeah, Eastwood is giving us this sort of black and white mentality of it that is where I think a lot of people are taking this angle.
I'd say it was oversimplified, like I said in my
Yeah.
review.
Yes,
generalized.
That's probably true, but I feel like a lot of people in the military do feel that way and have that attitude. I didn't think it was a disingenuous portrayal.
I'm not denying that. I just think he paints the antagonistic characters as these consistently evil characters. There's this whole semi-rivalry subplot that's a little too Hollywood for my taste.
Yeah.
That I guess was supposed to be clever, but we've gotten so many better pull-offs in far better war movies.
Enemy of the Gates? Yeah.
I guess I just sort of thought of it as, this is... First of all, it's called American Sniper. I mean, I feel like this is a movie through the eyes of an American soldier. So that did not bother me really at all. Joe, we haven't heard too much from you on the topic.
Well, I mean, I think people would be sensitive about it because obviously with the whole war on terror and the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq in the last decade or so, there's been a lot of controversy about that. And I think they do touch on it briefly. I mean, war is messy. I mean, it's like even the concept of the rules of war, like there are rules of war, like really it's a bunch of people trying to kill each other for usually pretty stupid reasons. So you have this character, he kills somebody, he feels bad about it, I think. We do see that, but you are right. I think it doesn't quite balance because, like you said, when he goes home, he doesn't want to talk about the war. He doesn't want to deal with it. He doesn't want his kids to know anything about it. Basically, he's like, I'm proud of it, but I don't want to, brag about it. It's not something I want to go in. And then he seems like he's obsessed. He wants to go back into battle, and then all his friends are gung ho, like, let's go kill the terrorists. Let's go kill these SOBs. It seems like a complete switch off, and maybe that's something about his character with the PTSD we don't know. But once again, like I said, they don't really go too much into it. It's just like, it's a lot of things implied. That's why I'm not sure how he feels about it.
I sort of took that last tour that he went on as just a revenge mission.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean,
like it or not, that was his motivation. It may not be the greatest motivation. But maybe doesn't make him that likable of a character at times.
But here's the thing. I'm not even entirely sure he was that torn up about it. I feel like it was more or less the whole pressures of war that got to him more than anything else.
You mean like almost like even the guy next to him say, they'll fry you if you're wrong. Well, thanks me for my first mission, buddy. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah, like maybe he doesn't want to mess up. But there is a scene where after that he says, that isn't how I picture that to go down.
So
it's like it wasn't that. I don't think it was that easy for him. Like he obviously still thinks about it.
Oh, no. The scene I was actually thinking about was more or less when the doctor is taking his blood pressure and it's basically skyrocketing.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that's more out of just the overall tension from being in that tense situation than actually how he feels about the action of what he's doing.
So you say that you think it's more just like how he physically, mentally was in the situation, not necessarily the morality of it.
Yes.
That's one thing that's hard to read too. Like I said, there
possible.
was some great performances here, but the script could have used some fine tuning, I think, because some things are very ambiguous for a movie that's called American Sniper, that's supposed to be about this man and how he feels and how he perceived himself. Even if it's just this one section of his life, I'm still not entirely sure how he felt about it. He was good at what he did, but his motivations are still kind of unclear to me.
For a movie about a sniper, it's got some murky focus.
Exactly. You know?
I can see the issues. The baby I don't care about.
Oh, that's the worst part.
But the other issues, I can see both sides of it. For me, it just, I guess, hit me a little more emotionally, so I bumped it up, especially for a movie that typically I would not like in that kind of vein. All right, well, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Film Fanatics. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye!